So I often think about what makes people the way that they actually are. And if you think about it, it's kind of an interesting question. You can presume that we all are born a certain way and we're born into who we are as individuals. But I tend to think about, I just think when you go into a classroom of kindergarteners or preschoolers, probably more preschoolers, you'll notice that yeah, there definitely is a lot of personality differences between everybody that's there. But then you also notice a considerable amount of uniformity that is quite pronounced, where everybody is, pretty smiley and they want to sort of do a lot of stuff. Yes, with a preschool class, there can be a lot of screaming, but that they're trying to do things and they have good intentions. And I think about that, even if you go back to simply, just infants, for example, that we're all relatively the same person as an infant across the board. And what ends up happening is that we have these experiences, or at least I believe this, and maybe this is not your belief, but this is something that I've been thinking about. We have an inordinate number of experiences that happen, and some of those experiences are pretty boring and mundane, which is probably most of life. But then every once in a while, you have sort of a trauma experience that has a large imprint on the rest of your life, and it might have been just one incident that sticks with you. And it was at a time of significant formation for you and your brain and how you thought about the world, and that could trigger off a lot of stuff that happens and how we sort of view the world. But that is only one side of the story, and that only tells a very small portion by just looking at what happened to us and what we have done. But an even more important answer, I believe, is a significantly more important answer that's very difficult to answer and very difficult to capture, is what doesn't happen to us and what we don't get exposed to. I think that is a larger piece of the puzzle if you start thinking about why people end up certain ways, is that many people that do quite well in life have exposure to different opportunities, and those opportunities are not what you're thinking about. At least this is not what I'm thinking about. You might be thinking that yeah, it's money, it's fancy cars and things like that, but it's not. It's being part of a supportive family, and even that is not necessarily everything, right? Just being a supportive family is not everything, but it's also being part of a family that sort of incrementally gets you to go and become a stronger person, and sort of believes in that you can grow as an individual. It's not just about being part of a strong family culture, but it's also recognizing that you can be a better person. And having all of those combinations, it's extremely hard to have all of that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying like our family has this right, and that's the thing, is that we probably screw things up so badly in our family, and we get things wrong. And the problem is that ourselves as parents, we're not exposed to a great deal of stuff and how to actually handle these things and how to deal with these things. And that's where education makes a enormous, a very big role. But you might be thinking of a certain stereotypical kind of education, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about having role models or people that will help you, or you can have a conversation with, and how to deal with things, and education from other people that have been there and done that, and gone through a great deal of stuff, and they have some, not only, book knowledge, but wisdom that they can help you with different things, right? Wisdom comes from this long line of experience that you have. So all of these things, if you could see, um, to say why somebody ends up the way that they actually are is a very difficult thing to tackle and to understand, because it's not only about what happens to you, but what doesn't happen to you. I think about the number of people that grow up and I did not grow up in a wealthy family. So I see the very stark differences between what was offered to me as a kid, and my parents were amazing with what they actually had, and we did well with what we actually had, but the amount of experiences that my kids get compared to what I get is completely different. And like, that's a challenging thing to address and to be part of. And even still, they might not be getting the right everything, right? They might be missing some really important things that really change their world. And I don't know what those things are, and I'm unaware of them. That's the more important thing, is that all of those things that you could have gotten, but don't, all those experiences, you don't know what the answer is. You don't know what is the appropriate combination that you'll ever get. And, frankly, science doesn't even know what that right combination is. We can't even answer those things because it's a real time thing, it's a socially constructed thing. I don't think that there is a truth out there of what is the appropriate way and the right way to do things, because that truth greatly changes over time. Um, but I do know that our experiences matter, and it probably matters more is what our experience or not, what we actually don't get and what we don't get access to, is such an important part of why we end up the way that we actually are. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.